What is this heavy brass circle with 7 numbered removable plugs, each slightly bigger than the last? The word Townley is engraved onto it, so I assume this is the maker. It was found in the Isle of Man and passed down through the family over the years. Any ideas? This is often mistaken for a set of brass weights. This intriguing device is in fact a 19th century tool used by jewelers to reduce the size of gold and silver rings. Each of the holes in the block is tapered slightly, and if a ring is inserted in the appropriate hole so that it sits towards the top, the punch can then be placed on top of the ring and tapped gently to force the ring downwards and make its diameter shrink in the process. Who would have guessed that? What is this thing found in a box of old kitchen stuff? It's small, made of marble or porcelain, with a free-moving roller piece. I'm guessing from sometime probably the first half to mid-20th century. I'm very curious to learn what this thing is. It's a stamp and envelope moistener. These were common in the 1950s to the 70s on office desks when you had to lick stamps and envelopes. The bottom square vessel would be filled with water. The roller was then spun to get wet and moisten stamps or envelopes, or sorting through a stack of papers. It is made from heavy white porcelain with a rod through the middle so that the round part spins. I'm trying to figure out what this thing is called. I inherited it from my grandparents. We always called it the octagonal table, but from what I was told, my grandparents bought it in the 50s or 60s. At that time, it was already an antique, about 80 years or so at that time. When I try and search for it by name, I get a brazier, but I've never seen one like this. I thought braziers were more solid metal intended for outdoor use, where the loose coal and ash can just fall out. Any info would be appreciated. It's called an ash table. You would put coals in the dish and prop your feet up on the table to warm them up, or just warm the space in general. Mexican origin, and this thing is definitely older than the 50s. The nails are all handmade, not machined. I did some searching and it sounds like they can go as far back as the 17th century, though I believe yours is 19th century. What is this wooden box I found in a house clearance in the UK? It's an unusual item made of wood with some sort of metal front and back hinged lid. It looks like it could be a blanket box that sits at the foot of the bed. The holes were probably attached to a bed frame if I had to guess. Does anyone know anything about it? That is a radio cabinet from the 1920s. There would have been 2 large dials at the ends. Here's one in a cabinet that's pretty well identical to yours. The little diamonds on the metal are pointers for these 2 large dials. The lid was raised up to change the vacuum tubes. Your cabinet having 2 large holes indicates it was for a reflex circuit. A TRF model would have had 3 large holes. What is this thing I found buried in the dirt? The head isn't sharp on the bottom, but looks like it maybe should be. The head is approximately 1 inch long by 3/4 inch wide. Where the metal meets the wood handle, it has a stamped inscription. The first word is illegible, but the rest says, File and Tool Company. We have dozens of old and antique tools. My dad collects them, but even he was stumped on what it could be. The head and the arm are both steel. The handle is wood, and there is no additional writing on it. I thought it might be some type of tool for cutting leather into strips, but I haven't found a tool like this. Any ideas? It's a locking strip tool manufactured by the Lutz File and Tool Company for putting the weather strip around windscreens. Some older style of automotive windows use a rubber cord that locks a piece of glass into the channel on another rubber seal. This tool widens the locking seal channel and lets you feed the locking rope through the hole. As you push the tool, the seal closes back up, holding onto the rope. As you continue to work the tool around the mounting seal, it works like a plow to widen and lay the rope. Lots of lube is recommended for this. What is this thing I found on a beach in Cork Island? It's made of metal and roughly 17 centimeters in diameter. It looks like a lid of something, or sort of like a helmet, and possibly made of lead or tin. Any ideas? I work in the fishing industry for 30 years. That's an old metal buoy, probably from the 1940s. They were often welded together in 2 or 3 sections, a top and bottom half, and occasionally a band in the middle. It's been rolling around out there for a long time and lost the lower section and picked up a right few dents. When intact, they float incredibly well and last a long time. However, you can't compete with rubber or plastic as cheap alternatives. What is this measuring device I found in a box of antiques and random tools? It's made of a lightweight metal. It has 0 in the center and 4 on the ends. It has holes in the base, so it is intended to be mounted onto something. I searched with Google Lens and just Googled for measuring devices that stand and vintage measuring tools, but a lot of handles for furniture came up, and I don't think that it's a drawer pull. I'm definitely curious if someone knows its intended use. It's a beat plaque or beat scale indicator, mounted at the bottom of the clock case just below the pendulum, to check and ensure the pendulum is equal. The amplitude of the pendulum swing can reveal the health of the clock's movement. If there is very little amplitude in the pendulum's swing, it could indicate wear or issues with the movement. When the pendulum swing is too large or excessive, it may also indicate an issue with the clock's movement. Swinging too far beyond the 2 markers on the beat scale could suggest that the clock's mechanism has a problem, which could include a loose pallet or an escapement that has worn out. In this case, it may be necessary to make adjustments or repairs to the clock's mechanism to address this issue. What is this metal box with some kind of switch or device under the removable panel? I found this while clearing out my mother-in-law's house. It was filled with old photos, but I noticed it appeared to have a false bottom. When I removed the bottom, I noticed some type of mechanism that appears to be connected to an old battery or capacitor. The box also has a hole in the bottom, but I do not have the key to the box. There are no describable markings or manufacturers that I could find. Any ideas? It's an antique brass strongbox with a built-in battery-powered alarm. The design for the box was patented in 1912 as a safety jewel chest by a German immigrant, Hermann Schmarzow, in New York City. I had to read through the patent to figure out how this works. It's pretty cool. On the outside bottom of the box is a metal button that protrudes slightly beyond the surface of the box. When the box is set down on a flat surface, the button is pushed up, which in turn lifts an arm or lever inside the box. This breaks the electrical connections, so the box is silent. At that point, you can move the box and do anything you want to it with no alarm. But when the box is set down and the lid is lowered, the alarm is primed. If the box is moved in any way, the button shifts, the interior arm drops, and an electrical connection is completed. An alarm clock type hammer then bangs against the side of the box, creating a loud and very alarming sound. Pushing the button back in won't stop the action either. It can only be turned off by unlocking the box and opening the lid. I found this small light fixture while helping a friend clean her cellar in an old home. She has no idea what it is or how she came by it. It's 2 by 2 inches square and 3 inches tall with a 32-inch cord and appears to be made of Bakelite, as does the switch and 2-prong plug. It says Spencer Buffalo USA on top and has a finger nut to open the chassis to replace the bulb. The bulb still works and has a metal reflector. There are 8 vent holes on the front and 8 more on the back. The lens is about 3/16 inch thick and gives the light an even moonlight blue cast. We think it might have been used in a laboratory setting, or maybe for photo enlarging. We'd love to know what it was for. We are very anxious to hear about it. Any ideas? Please let us know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.